There's been a trend in the last few years in the training industry to deal with shooting from cars. And I think it's a good skill to practice, and you should know how to deploy your firearm while you're seated in the vehicle and the various ways of shooting around it. Nothing particularly new. I learned it originally in 1994 when I went to Thunder Ranch and we did some vehicle defense work. And it's important to understand, the dynamics of having your seat belt on and drawing from concealment and having to worry about, not crossing yourself with the muzzle. So if I needed to come out this window, coming over the window and that sort of thing. Now, I worry about how realistic it is, because one thing, if I've got a threat directly in front of me that I need to shoot, I'm going to shoot through the glass. But how many people actually practice that? Yes, I do see it now and then, but you're talking about, costly auto glass, and you're only going to get a couple of practices at that. Most of the time you see this done where you open the door and you shoot from outside, so you're not damaging your car. Once again, how realistic is that? Now, there's some question about, hey, I'm in a weapon. I'm in a vehicle that weighs, a couple of tons. Maybe the answer is here is the skinny pedal to the right. And that's fine as long as you realize that if you were deliberately hitting somebody with your car, you're using lethal force. And so all of the aspects of using lethal force are appropriate, with the caveat of the fact that you are in an escape pod. You're in a metal shell and with the ability to move quickly. So hitting somebody deliberately with your car is going to look bad, and there's going to be some expectation that you tried to avoid the confrontation by driving out of it, and that you're not as at threat because you're in the vehicle as opposed to being out and about where you don't have this armored cage around you. There's an old saying that the body can't go where the mind has never been. And the point in this situation is that, we talk about, oh, I'm just gonna, if I'm presented with somebody in front of me and it's a bad guy, maybe there's an angry crowd, I'm just gonna hit the skinny pedal on the right and run them over. There's some things we need to think about there. And you need to realize that you've spent your entire driving career not hitting people, because that would be a bad thing. So for the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years, every day you have avoided hitting people. Now all of a sudden you're going to run somebody over? I don't think so. I, at one point, had to deliberately run my car into a guardrail to avoid an accident, and it was a very slow speed thing. I had plenty of time to think of it, which probably was a problem. And the car was a 1965 Skylark that I paid $125 for. And it was still a difficult thing for me to do to, deliberately have an accident. So imagine running somebody over deliberately. And once again, the body will have trouble going or can't go where the mind has never been. So you need to think about the realities of running somebody over. What is going to happen? Do you have a vehicle that could actually run somebody over, or would they get stuck underneath you and you get stuck? Let's say there's a group of angry protesters and you've just watched them pull somebody out of the car and beat them, and you're next, and so there's the couple guys in front of you, you go to run them over and you manage to get up on them, and now you're stuck. Now you've angered the crowd even more than they already were, and you've high-centered your vehicle on something. So do you know that your vehicle is capable of hitting somebody and continuing on and getting you out of trouble? And just like our firearms practice, we are continually shooting at targets, and hopefully you're shooting at photorealistic targets, so you get the idea of what it's like to shoot at an actual human being. And better yet, we should be doing some force-on-force training with airsoft guns so that you know what it feels like to be shot at, as well as shooting at another human being. So the same thing, if you think there's a situation where you may need to use your vehicle as a weapon, you should probably have some sort of practice. I'm Peter Burlingame of the Self-Defense Initiative. This is another Tuesday Tactical Training Tip of the week. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and tell your friends about us. Be safe out there.